in accordance with the Open Public Meeting Statement, this meeting is called to order in accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act. A notice of this meeting was provided to the Home News Tribune, the Star Ledger, and the Highland Park Planet on January 4th, 2023, and was posted on the Borough website at www.hbborough.com and on the bulletin board of Borough Hall, 221 South 5th Avenue in Highland Park, New Jersey, and has remained continuously posted as required by law. Fire exits are to my right and left of the council chambers. Please speak into the microphone if you come up to make comments. As mayor, I preside over the council meeting and may interrupt, warn, or terminate a participant's statement or participation in the meeting if the participant's statement does not adhere to the 3 minutes provided to each participant for public comment, or if the statement is disruptive to the orderly conduct of public meetings, is disruptive or not on the topic that is relevant to the borough governing body. Former Mayor Gabriel Mittler, can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mayor
Clerk.
Foster,
Here.
Councilwoman Canavera,
Here.
Councilman George,
Here.
Councilman Hale,
Here.
Councilmember Hirsch,
Here.
Councilwoman Kim Chohan,
Here.
Borough Attorney Schmier,
Here.
and Borough Administrator Hobert.
Here.
Okay. Any questions on the agenda by our council members?
No, Mayor.
Okay. And now we have I have the honor to have former Mayor Gabriel Mittler with a presentation from our Legislative Assembly Senate and the resolution will be from the Assembly and the Senate. And at this time, I'm going to ask Senator Dykeman, Assemblyman Karabinchek, and Assemblyman Stanley to make the presentation to former Mayor Gabriel Mittler.
Assemblyman Stanley is going to read this. Have to make sure, right? Yep. Make sure that it's a joint legislative resolution by Assemblyman Stanley, Carabinchek, and Senator Biden. Whereas the Senate and the General Assembly of the State of New Jersey are pleased to salute the Honorable Gail Mittler, the highly esteemed Mayor of Highland Park, for the immeasurable contributions she has made to the borough throughout many years. And whereas Gail Mittler has served with distinction as the Mayor of Highland Park since 2014, a superb tenure marked by her steadfast efforts to improve the borough's environmental sustainability and foster economic development and fellowship within all sectors of the community. And whereas, under her exemplary stewardship, Highland Park has earned Sustainable Jersey's Silver certification every year since 2017. And in 2020, the borough repurposed a tract of land to be used as a solar field, one of the benefited occupants of a nearby apartment complex, and created additional revenue for the municipality. And whereas she compiled an outstanding record of accomplishment throughout her 5 years on the Borough Council and as its one-term president. And since assuming the responsibilities of the mayor's office, she has continued to meet the needs of her constituents by stabilizing real estate taxes, establishing shared service agreements with adjacent towns, promoting and celebrating diversity, and forging a redevelopment plan to revitalize the downtown area. And whereas, as a result of her remarkable leadership, the borough has been a 3-time recipient of the Innovation in Governance Award, conferred by the New Jersey League of Municipalities for its Partners Community Grant Program. The HB gives a food initiative and invaluable civics for the community program. And whereas through her uncommon understanding of and extraordinary dedication and allegiance to her fellow citizens, Gail Mittler has set a standard of excellence in public service, and in doing so provided a model of faithful commitment worthy of emulation. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate and the General Assembly of the State of New Jersey, that this legislature hereby commends Gail Mittler, pays tributes to her meritorious record of service to the people of Highland Park, and extends sincere best wishes for continued success in all future endeavors. And be it further resolved that a duly authenticated copy of the resolution signed by the Senate President and the Assembly Speaker and attested by the Senate Secretary and the Assembly Clerk be transmitted to the Honorable Gail.
One word that stood out as he was reading that is remarkable. You are truly a remarkable person. Highland Park, to a large extent, is because of your leadership. In 5 years, the environment, the downtown area, this history now becoming part of it. You are just a remarkable person, and it's been an honor to call you not mayor, but a friend. You are a really, really special person. You are missed, but you aren't going to. Trust me, we're going to be calling you.
Thank you, Gail. Mayor, it's been an honor to work with you through Highland Park. You've taught me so much. Even though you thought I was helping you, you were helping me. And that's just the way you are. You're just a fantastic, solid person. And that's what the world should be. They should emulate what you present every single day of your life. And you're always here. So thank you for everything you've done for Highland Park and for me, and I'm sure everybody in this room and so many people outside of this room. So thank you. Thank you.
Here, here.
I want to thank you all too for the support, part of the tears that are going to start coming down over all these years. You know, we've worked together on so many things, and I was thrilled when you joined the team, Sterling. There's so much that one person can do. I must tell you, these folks up here, nothing could have been accomplished without them. So thank you all for your support and for all that you have done for Highland Park. I had the honor of sitting in that chair, but you were the people who did the work with me. And I want to thank all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Before you all leave, can Mayor and Council get a picture and you guys?
Oh, yes, sorry. And the one person who allowed me out of the house and spending nearly 24 hours a day on this borough, my husband, who has now become such a great chef. And I have all of you to thank for that because of meetings.
Ready?
And again, we just want to echo what was said. We said it, that, thank you for your leadership. Okay. At this time, she's like, okay, I'm out of here. At this time, we're going to have a presentation by the Historical Survey of Lincoln Highway, Raritan Avenue, by Richard Grubb Associates. Oh, you're already there. I'm like looking.
Good evening, everybody. My name's Lauren Dunkel, and I am an architectural historian with Richard Grubb and Associates. Is this working?
We might switch it.
Yeah, I think it needs
Can
a
everybody hear me?
little bit of help.
In a minute. Take that mic out.
Perfect. Thank you. I'm short. So I gotta sit down.
Just before you give your presentation, Council President Hirsch would like to say a few words.
Oh, okay.
Not even. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Mayor, for your discussion. I just wanted to just remind that this Lincoln Highway Survey project is a very exciting initiative of the Highland Park Historical Commission, and this survey was funded through a grant from Middlesex County, and a match from the Borough. And this is the fruit of that investment, and we're excited to have the historical snapshot of our town. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
All right. I guess I got cut off when I was introducing myself, but I'm Lauren Dunkel, and I'm an architectural historian with Richard Grubb and Associates. And I was also the principal investigator for this Lincoln Highway Historical Survey here in the Borough of Highland Park. As outlined here in red, our survey included all the resources linked to Raritan Avenue between the Raritan River and Raritan Avenue's intersection with Woodbridge Avenue. On this first phase, sorry, I just realized I'm not talking into the microphone. This first phase of the survey identified a total of 86 properties along the Lincoln Highway, and each resource was inventoried on a survey form and assessed to determine their status as contributing, non-contributing, key contributing to the overall proposed Raritan Avenue Historic District. A key factor in determining the resources status within the proposed historic district relates to the main focus of our survey, which is the historic route of the Lincoln Highway and its path through the Borough of Highland Park. Overlapping with the present-day Raritan Avenue, the Lincoln Highway was established in 1912 and was proposed by a man named Carl Fisher. Spanning 3,300 miles, the purpose of the Lincoln Highway was to create a transcontinental route that connected New York City to San Francisco by following previously established trails, country lanes, and downtown streets. The completion of the Lincoln Highway and its popularity transformed the rural communities along its route into automotive suburbs that catered to the traveling motorists. Its historic significance led to the National Park Service completing a Lincoln Highway Special Resource Study in 2004 to assess whether or not the Lincoln Highway corridor should be added to the National Park System. In this study, 5 resources were identified within the Borough of Highland Park, and 2 of which were located within the current survey area, which were the buildings at 101 Raritan Avenue and 515 Raritan Avenue. Our survey documented both of these resources. However, only 101 Raritan Avenue was determined to have a historic function related to the Lincoln Highway, and that resource in particular will be discussed in further detail later on in this presentation. Overall, the National Park Survey determined that the Lincoln Highway corridor as a whole did not retain a high degree of integrity and therefore did not meet the required criteria for inclusion in the National Park System. Though the entire route of the Lincoln Highway was deemed to not meet the necessary criteria for the National Park System, our survey was conducted to look at the portion of the route contained within the borough to assess its potential eligibility for listing in the National Register of Historic Places. As you can see in these early 20th century photographs, the commercialization trend spurred on by the completion of the Lincoln Highway is reflected in the architecture along Raritan Avenue, particularly during the 1920s. The earlier residential buildings along the route began to be converted or expanded to include businesses that could serve the travelers on the highway. As a result, several businesses relating to the car industry began appearing along the route and generally consist of car dealerships, showrooms, filling stations, and auto repair shops. The architectural resources within the Raritan Avenue Historic District represent a couple different larger architectural trends, but for the purpose of this presentation, I have them split here to before the establishment of the Lincoln Highway and then after. The earliest resource we surveyed represents Highland Park's early architectural history. that began during the mid-19th century when several farmsteads and mansions were built along present-day Raritan Avenue. By the second half of the 19th century, the area of Highland Park began to be further developed as a suburb of New Brunswick, which led to single-family estates, mansions being erected along Raritan Avenue, River Road, South Adelaide Avenue, and South Adelaide Avenue. As shown here on this 1873 map, there are a few early to mid-19th century buildings present within the survey area at the time. And though most of these 19th century buildings have since been removed, one is still present within the survey area and is situated at 37 South Adelaide Avenue. Shown here in this first photo, it consists of an Italianate dwelling that was constructed around 1860. Though it has since been altered, the dwelling still retains several of its Italianate characteristics, including its form, cross-gable roof, bracketed cornice, grouped arch windows, wood-clapboard siding, and its large front porch. The next architectural phase that occurred within the survey area was around the turn of the 20th century when several vernacular Queen Anne and stick-style residences were erected. A notable example of a stick-style residence is at 202 Raritan Avenue, shown in the center photo, which still features its steeply pitched cross-gable roof, overhanging eaves, verge boards, decorative false timbering, and an embellished front porch. Shown in the last photo are some other vernacular examples of the Queen Anne and stick styles that are still present within the historic district, though many have since been altered to accommodate commercial uses. A majority of the houses within the survey area date to the late 19th century and the first decade of the 20th century, and they still contain their vernacular gable front or gable front and wing forms, and their subtle architectural details that reflect popular national and regional styles of the time. As I mentioned, after the completion of the Lincoln Highway, many of these residences along Raritan Avenue were altered to suit new commercial uses. This resulted in the construction of several commercial additions on the front of the late 19th and early 20th century houses to create storefronts. Many of the commercial additions consist of 1 to 2 story masonry additions featuring 1 or 2 commercial spaces. Though the commercial spaces effectively covered the front of these dwellings, a review of Sanborn maps indicated that the building became mixed use, with the dwelling portion of these buildings continuing to function as a residence. In addition to the residences being modified to suit commercial mixed uses, several businesses related to the automobile industry were established along the route, though it is hard to tell on this 1950 map just because the screen's so small. Several garages, filling stations, and car showrooms were erected by the mid-20th century that were primarily built between 1920 and 1960. And this map helps show the increased commercial development along Raritan Avenue following the introduction and continued use of the Lincoln Highway. So following this historic route of the Lincoln Highway, our study identified and proposed Raritan Avenue, the Raritan Avenue Historic District, which encompasses all of the resources flanking Raritan Avenue and within our survey area. We determined a period of significance spanning from circa 1860, which is the approximate construction date of the oldest extant building within the historic district, to circa 1960, which is the general date of when the automobile-related buildings began to be removed or repurposed. Overall, the historic district was determined to be significant as an embodiment of Raritan Avenue's transition from residential to commercial use after its incorporation into the historic Lincoln Highway. And then this graphic here gives a general overview of our findings and determinations for the individual resources within the Raritan Avenue Historic District. As I briefly mentioned earlier, we identified a total of 86 resources that were assessed into 3 main categories of non-contributing, contributing, and key contributing. Indicated in orange, 14 resources were determined to be non-contributing, and then colored in green, 67 were determined to be contributing, and then the remaining 5 resources, which are colored in blue, were determined to be key contributing. The non-contributing resources consisted of buildings that were built after circa 1960 and therefore fell outside of the Raritan Avenue Historic District's period of significance. Some examples of these are the 21st century Highland Cliffs development at 2 South Adelaide Avenue, and then the commercial building at 320 Raritan Avenue, which was built circa 1969. Making up a bulk of our surveyed resources, the contributing resources consisted of any buildings that were erected within the circa 1860 to circa 1960 period of significance, but did not have a historic automotive function tied to the Lincoln Highway, or its historic function relating to the automobile industry is no longer apparent. These primarily consisted of the residential and commercial buildings that were constructed in the late 19th century to early 20th century, but also contained a handful of commercial buildings that date to the late 19th century and mid 20th century. And then the 5 key contributing resources to the Raritan Avenue Historic District that were identified were determined to have a historic function that related to the automotive industry and were found to be associated with the establishment of the Lincoln Highway. Additionally, they also were determined to still retain a significant amount of their architectural character that reflects their historic automotive uses. The first key contributing resource that we identified is the building at 101 Raritan Avenue, which is a 1-story concrete block automotive building constructed in the Art Moderne style. Built circa 1950, the building was originally known as the Highland Esso Service Center and was built as a filling station and repair shop. Up until recently, the building functioned as an auto repair and service center, and although it has undergone the replacement of the main entry door, the removal of the gas pumps, the building still retains characteristics of its original design, and it embodies the Art Moderne style through its smooth wall surfaces, asymmetrical facade, flat roof, curved corner, and its glass block windows. The next building that we identified as a key contributing resource is the commercial building at 114 Raritan Avenue, and it's a circa 1922 2-story brick building, historically known as the Deinzer Building. It was first built to house the Deinzer Meat Market, and by 1921, it also housed a physician's office and apartments. By 1927, it was functioning as an automotive display room, with the DeSoto dealership present in the building by 1929. The building continued to function as an auto sales room well into the mid-20th century, and despite the replacement of windows and doors, the building still retains key characteristics of its original design, including its massing, materiality, and fenestration. The building at 127 Raritan Avenue is a 2-story, 3-bay wide brick commercial building built circa 1920, historically known as Sexton's Garage. The building was constructed to function as a sales room for high-end automobiles. The building functioned as an automotive sales room into the mid-20th century, and although the exterior cladding materials, doors, and windows have since been replaced, the building still retains key characteristics of its original design, including its original massing, fenestration, parapet, and garage opening. The 4th key contributing resource we identified is the building at 610 North 2nd Avenue, which is a 2-story commercial building built circa 1920. Research indicated that the early council meetings were held on the 2nd floor of this building, and it also housed the American Legion Post at one point. A 1950 Sanborn map indicated that the building was historically mixed use and contained a 2nd-story residence and an auto repair shop in the 1st floor. By 1985, it housed the business of Gold Rush Custom Auto. Though it has undergone the replacement of windows, doors, siding, and the garage entry, the building still retains its key characteristics of its original design, including the hipped roof, main block, and the roof ornamentation. The final key contributing resource that we identified is the building at 438-440 Raritan Avenue. It is a 2-story tall, 3-bay wide stucco clad building and built circa 1924. Advertisements suggest that the building originally housed the Frank Van Sickle Garage Co. and was functioning as an automotive dealership. The building functioned as an automotive dealership or sales building into the mid-20th century, and despite alterations to the exterior cladding materials and the replacement of windows and doors, the building still retains its key characteristics of its original design, including its original massing and fenestration. And then just to conclude our overall survey, we recommended the Raritan Avenue Historic District as eligible under Criterion A of the National Register of Historic Places for the themes of commerce and transportation, as it is historically tied to the Lincoln Highway. In addition to being recommended as key contributing resources to the Raritan Avenue Historic District, the 5 key contributing resources are also recommended as individually eligible for the National Register of Historic Places under Criterion A for their relation to the Lincoln Highway and the automobile industry. And that's everything.
Thank you. Highland Park continues to hold key pieces of history. That's awesome. Thank you. Very good. Does any of the council members have any questions? Alrighty. So Matt, this is going to go on our website. We'll have information on this on the website, and
Yes.
where can people find this?
Where will we go? So from here, this will be featured on the Borough website. And the Historical Commission will continue to discuss this report and make any recommendations, but also kind of raise up this history with with the rest of the council and the community, because understanding our history, ever changing, obviously, particularly as we make decisions about our downtown, but having that historical context is important in all of our decisions. Not just downtown, but understanding history and making sure that we take all of that into consideration. So thank you. This is really valuable, and I learned things in this 15 minutes that I didn't know. So thank you.
Thank you so much. At this time, I'm just going to ask for a moment of silence for Sayreville Councilwoman Eunice Dumfor. Thank you. Also, tonight I'm going to ask us all to keep in mind the people of Syria and Turkey, as they're going through such a horrific time with the earthquakes. At this time, I'm going to call for council reports. Councilwoman Kim Chohan.
Do we have to do approval of the minutes?
Approval of the minutes was on the agenda beforehand, but
It's crossed out. We don't have any minutes. We haven't. That shouldn't have been there. We have no minutes right now.
All right, then I'll jump right in. So your property reevaluation letter should be in your mailbox. It's on. If not, it's on its way. The borough property owners should have received a letter from our professional property appraisers, our reevaluation firm, providing the update assessed property value for your home or the commercial property. These assessments are based on PPA's field inspections, would have been ongoing since September of last year, 2022. This letter includes of your total assessed value in 2023 as compared to 2022, as well as your total estimated annual tax bill utilizing the 2023 value. Please keep in mind that this calculation is based on the borough's prior year budget. The actual amount may change depending on the budget that is adopted by the governing body. I also, one question that wasn't on the letter, and I just highly encourage everyone to read the letter from top to bottom. I know some people got excited when they saw that maybe decrease there and just stopped right there. I highly encourage you to read the entire thing. Also, the question that isn't on there, if my bill goes down, how do I get reimbursed for what I paid in the first and second quarter of 2023? So because of the timing of the adoption of the municipal budget, the first and second quarter's tax bills each year are estimated. So once the budget is finalized and the tax rate approved, the new tax bills will go out in July. At that point, any, what we would say, overpayments from the first or second quarters will be adjusted off of the third and fourth quarterly bills. And similar, if your bill was too low, then that difference will be added to the last 2 quarters. And if you have any questions about the reeval or do not believe your 2023 total assessed value is accurate, please contact PPA at 1-800-410-5815 during business hours, and you can schedule a time to review. Lastly, if your property was not inspected, there's still time to schedule an inspection before the 2023 tax list is finalized. And that number, again, it's 1-800-410-5815 to make your appointment. I think we have said this probably all last year and now too. I highly recommend you taking some time out to schedule that appointment. And, there's nothing at this point to be afraid of. Actually, if you don't let the assessor in, they may overestimate your property. And in Highland Park, we have so many unique properties from the outside. We have it may be a huge home, and inside you have a 2-bedroom, but from the outside it looks like a 4 or 5. So I highly suggest you to really schedule that appointment. And I'm happy that we are finally able to see the finish line with this project. And I look forward to us and the council members coming up with an ongoing maintenance plan for this revow. Therefore, we wouldn't have to wait another 30 years or so to do this project again. And I definitely want to thank Borough Administrator Terry Hover, the entire Finance Committee, and our tax assessor, Tom Mancuso, as well, and the firm that we hired. They really pulled it together. Last minute, they were running behind on another town, and so far, I've been getting nothing but praises, and actually from my council members too, which doesn't happen much. So, but really, all of us, it was a really, we really wasn't. I know I wasn't looking at the glass halfway full, and we're finally able to say that we actually completed the revow, and that's my report, Mayor.
Thank you so much. And again, what's that? Just repeat the number one more time if people have questions.
Yes, the number one more time. Please call them. We paid them almost $1 million for this project. 1-800-410-5815.
And there's information on the Borough website too?
Yes, there will be information on the Borough website too. All the information, little key facts that I just went over, that information will be on the website.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Hale.
Thank you very much. First of all, thank you, Stephanie, for all your work on the revow. It was a lot of work, and I think you did a great job on it, so thank you for that. So I wanted to say a couple weeks ago we put out a FAQ about Stop and Shop. And among the things that we asked for is for people who had ideas and thoughts to communicate those and send those in to our Borough Administrator, Terry O'Vare. And I just wanted to say thank you very much to everybody who has done that. And in particular, I wanted to say thank you to everybody who's done it with a spirit of trying to help, a spirit of honest, let's hope, let's do this. And so I just wanted to mention a couple of those tonight. It really has been fantastic to see how people have contributed in this way. And we get a lot of ideas for different supermarkets. We have people who are saying, supermarkets I've never heard of, like Bingo. Thank you, Lisa Geller, for that. Sprouts. Thank you to Kala Nanda for the idea for Sprouts. Those keep coming for different ideas, which we are, of course, feeding into the mix. There's also people who have been talking about new and different ways in shopping venues, food experiences, delivery mechanisms. Eric Wallerstein said, how about Amazon Fresh? Could we get that? And certainly that's kind of a cool idea. Nathalia Levine talked about food salvaging. So these are just some of the ideas that have been thrown into the mix that we're actively looking and trying to work on. We've had a lot of people who've sort of been able to call in and ask and write in about specific contacts. Some of them are really specific, like you should call Jim at Supermarket X, he can help. And so we do that. We try and reach out to Jim at Supermarket X and see how that does. My favorite, though, is that someone sent in a note saying that they were happy to reach out to the VP of another grocery store who had once dated her cousin. He apparently was kind of a jerk, but she was going to get over that to get us in to be able to talk to this guy. So I thought that was, that shows how much people are interested in this and how much people are willing to contribute. She was going to go talk to her cousin's ex-boyfriend to see if we could have help in that. So again, all of these ideas have have been really fantastic. Others, Aaron Dalton has started a petition to ask Stop and Shop if we can have free online delivery service while this is closed. He's a high school student, and so thank you to Aaron for that. It's I think a good idea. Obviously there is a lot of folks up on this dais. Everyone up here has given a bunch of good ideas, especially, I would say, Stephanie and Matt in our Economic Development Committee, but really everybody. A big thanks to Main Street as well, to Rebecca Hirsch, Jim Nichols, Mike McKenna, the Main Street Board, all of those folks for putting in professional ideas about what we can do. We've got a team of people who are interested in real estate development, general sales, people like Jeremy Renna, Stu Bressler, Mark Russo, Melissa Gursky, and Aaron Weinman. All of those folks have contributed ideas and thoughts about how we might put this together. I know this sounds like a laundry list of folks. I'm not even close to getting all the people who've put in their ideas for what we can do. But I also need to make sure we thank Terry Hover, because she's the one who's playing quarterback on this and the one who is fielding all of these ideas and putting them together. And she's done a magnificent job of again, sort of trying to put this very difficult situation and trying to move it ahead in on a regular pace. I wish I could say that as a result of that, we have a new supermarket opening next week, but we don't. And we're still working on it. We're still working very hard. Every single day we are working on different aspects and different projects and different ways of making this work. As you know, we've with the planning board have designated as an area in need of redevelopment. A next step in that is our professionals put together a redevelopment plan. The council will review that, and then the public will have a chance to review that for the site. That provides additional options which might be available for development of the site, primarily all based on a grocery store. But you should be looking forward in the next little bit that those plans will be out. We'll be able to talk about that. That'll be a major step moving forward. So I just wanted to say, again, just thank you so much to everybody for all your contributions and all your heartfelt thoughts. This is a scary thing. We don't want us to lose our supermarket. But I really do appreciate the fact that people are coming with a good heart and trying to come with good ideas. And that's really, really helpful. And so we're doing our best to move ahead on that. So thank you. I just want to take a brief note to end, to make a remark on the passing of a quasi-Highland Park resident. My wife's grandmother, Florence Thaler, died last week at age 106 and 8 months. Her two daughters, Joan Mitnick and Randy Levy, live in Highland Park and have lived here for a long time. And as a result, Gigi, as we called her, showed up every single Jewish holiday and most birthdays and all of those, and really, really, truly loved Highland Park. She was a force of nature. She loved learning, she loved politics, she loved Israel, but she also loved Highland Park. It was a long life and it was well lived, and a lot of it was lived here. So I just felt a need to say thank you to her. Thank you to this community for having all of this family together. She's going to be missed. So that's all. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for your report. It was very comprehensive. Glad to hear that a lot of people are chiming in to get us a supermarket, as we all are working hard to make that happen. But it sounds like we have lost the Highland Park treasure in Gigi.
We have. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Canavera.
Thank you. Board of Health wants everybody to know that the Middlesex County COVID level are at medium. This means if you are at high risk of getting very sick, wear a high-quality mask or respirator when indoors in public. If you have household or social contact with somebody at high risk for getting very sick, consider self-testing to detect infection before contact and consider wearing a high-quality mask when indoors with them. Stay up to date with COVID-19 vaccines, including recommended booster doses. Maintain ventilation improvements. Avoid contact with people who have who are suspected or confirmed COVID-19. Follow recommendations for isolation if you have suspected or confirmed COVID-19. Follow recommendations for what to do if you are exposed to someone with COVID-19. They'd also like to add that with this new variant, the rapid tests are not very accurate, so they're suggesting that you get tested from your doctor. The hours for the community food pantry, they're open the second and fourth Thursday, 9 a.m. to 10:45 a.m. and 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. and the Saturday following every Thursday, 9:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Donations can be made using their Amazon wish list, and the Highland Park Gives a Hoot food pantry every Tuesday from 10 a.m. until 11 a.m. Donations can be made to them by mailing a check to Borough Hall with a memo that is for Highland Park Gives a Hoot pantry. Between these two programs, we are serving over 300 families, and due to Stop and Shop closing and the emergency pandemic EBT benefits ending, they're anticipating a large raise in clients. They also are in need of sanitary napkins and diapers. The Mental Health Commission wants to remind everyone with a mental health crisis to please reach out for help. Middlesex County crisis hotlines are Rutgers University Behavioral Health Care Hotline, 855-515-5700. The Raritan Bay Medical Center Hotline, 732-442-3794, or text HOME to 741-741. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember George.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a short report. Again, I'd like to thank Stephanie for stewarding that project in, and for all the council for supporting it. It was a huge, unpopular project that seems to have worked out very well for the town, at least for our tax-paying residents. I'd like to thank you for stewarding that through. Just a reminder, we're celebrating Black History Month in February. There were events all over Middlesex County and all of our towns. One of the better websites I found where they were listed is on Middlesex County's website under the Arts and Culture events listing. There's something almost every day this month. The police department will be available for another Cops and Coffee evening on February 21st from 6:30 to 8:30 at the Highland Park Community Center. These informal sessions have been popular, so they're trying to restart them again after our interruption, unfortunately, during the pandemic. There's no organized agenda. There's no organized format. You can discuss policing, policy, what's new, what's going on, what's happening. Talk to the officers individually. Give us thanks for individual officers. Share particular questions and raise any concerns that you want with the officers there, and they'll take them back to Chief Rick. The department has interviewed 2 new potential officers to fill upcoming vacancies. They're in the process of their final hiring. We hope to have them on board by March. Public Safety Committee will meet on Tuesday, February 14th for its monthly meeting. I'll be meeting with Chief Abrams to discuss some methods of improving our ability to update the town on what's going on in the department moving forward. The library is facing a particular problem, as everyone knows, and we speak about all the time. The roofing system in the library is a continuing source of irritation. However, in the last couple of weeks, it turned out that one of the HVAC units on the roof, which are the big units that control heating and air conditioning and ventilation, is over 20 years old and is basically expired. We were required to shut it down. Luckily, it only heats and cools the large conference room in the back so that it doesn't interfere with the library's operation, and that room is acceptable for with the weather that we're having, fortunately. But what we did was, as a result of that coming up at the last library meeting, we did, with the cooperation of Terry Hover, our borough administrator, have a meeting of the trustees, chair, myself, the architect who supervises the ongoing construction project at the library and DPW, and discussed the fact that all of the HVAC units are actually well over 20 years old and aged out. But then the architect said that essentially the crisis is a moderate crisis, but it turns out to be a blessing in disguise because the units have to be removed from the roof in order to replace them. Once they're removed, there's no obstacle to re-roofing the building without having to do any of the heavy-duty work that we've had to do. Yesterday, I believe it was late yesterday, circulated a rough estimate of the fact that it's nowhere near as expensive as we thought. It's nowhere near 7 figures, it's low 6 figures. So, and coupling that with replacing the HVAC units, we're looking at something significantly less. So the working group is going forward, the architect's going to come up with plans to let Terry know what are we really talking about. But we did jump on it right away with the group that we've had informally for a couple of years now for library, quote, emergencies. And you can spell that ROOF as in emergency. So hopefully that's going to bring a resolution. It's going to actually hopefully wrap it up this year for a problem. Literally, we got a summary of something like 18 years of roof problems since the last roof was put on and failed rather rapidly. And I'm really hoping we get some numbers that we're really able to work with. In addition, we're looking all over, under every rock, and every grant and every official for money and contributions to do that. So we'll keep you updated at every meeting as that goes forward. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you so much. Happy to hear that the roof project is coming along. It's been a long time coming. Council President Hirsch.
Thank you, Mayor Foster. I wanted to just take a little bit of my time just to build off of the presentation that we just saw. I want to deeply thank the Highland Park Historical Commission for all of its hard work and really being one of those boards and commissions that really operates on all cylinders. Its members care deeply about the history of this community and really documenting the history of the community, which I think as a reporter, that's really important, that we have some type of historical record just to give us, provide us a glimpse into history, understand that context moving forward, and also making sure that, we understand, at least in this case, the physical history of our town. Very automobile oriented, which is a little ironic because I think we're trying to do things to move away from that, which is good, but that's also history, and to have that, understanding inform us, and particularly that, our town was created as a very automobile-centric community, as walkable as we think it is, and so that's really important. But then also despite all of that, we had some really great buildings be part of the streetscape. So and I'm sure we will have new buildings to add to that exciting streetscape as well. So that's exciting. I did want to just thank Councilwoman Kim Chohan for your update on revaluation. Always praise, but it's really good to see that that initiative really take effect, and I think a lot of people were pleased with the with the letter that they might have received in the mail, and I'm happy that the council took other put into place other guardrails that potentially helps offset any increases by those properties that were undervaluated, and we'll see and could see an increase. As liaison to the public schools, I'm pleased to congratulate Michael Moore, Highland Park High School math teacher and AP Computer Science teacher, whose efforts enabled the high school to receive the College Board's AP Computer Science Female Diversity Award. Highland Park is one of only 209 schools nationwide to receive this distinction, and the environment Moore sets in his classroom encourages young women's participation in the study of computer science, which is a field where gender equality is often not achieved. Thank you, Harry Glazer, for contributing to this report. Thank you to my colleagues for taking the time to take the Garden State Municipal Joint Insurance Fund's ethics course. It's very important. Thank you, Mayor Foster, for also encouraging that. We have these opportunities to take these courses, frequently throughout the year that are provided by the Joint Insurance Fund, and they're good. They keep us on our toes, and they just kind of remind us of, in everyday decisions, the things that we need to consider, even if they feel like it's the right thing. It's important just to be reminded always of what actually is the right thing. I did just want to mention, so I am new to, soon we're doing a little shuffling of our council assignments for reorganization. We have a vacancy on the council, and so that when we fill that vacancy, the person there will take on a new portfolio, and most likely arts and recreation, which was my old portfolio. And it's a wonderful area because it really does focus deeply on quality of life issues. So whoever adopts that portfolio, it is highly rewarding and a lot of fun. But also a lot of fun is that I am new to the Public Works Department, which is also really exciting, and to really see kind of how the nuts and bolts of the borough operate. This is one of our major agencies in town. Councilman Phil George was chair previously and did an enormous amount of work. I was on the Public Works Committee with Councilman George, and so obviously it's good to have that understanding of the infrastructural needs that we'll be facing, of the maintenance needs, and of the capital needs of public works. I do have a very comprehensive report to report out on, but I think I am going to save this for the website. I will say though that this is not the most important thing, but maybe it's the thing that we count the most, is that Public Works, thank you for filling 93 potholes last month. Even though our streets are very good right now. I would just encourage everybody, we have a little bit of time. If you do go home, please watch the President's State of the Union address tonight. The stakes are high. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Council President. Borough Administrator's report.
Thank you. I just have two items. One, I wanted to mention, in addition to your letters on revaluation, so again, thank you to Councilwoman Kim Chohan for doing such a thorough job reporting on that. You also received a letter if you have property in Highland Park and have a borough-owned meter. We're doing a meter replacement program, and very similar to the reval process, we're going to have a contractor come in and do those replacements. They're very critical to the effective, efficient running of our utility. And so just like everybody opened their homes to our reval company, we're asking you to do the same. There's a whole appointment process. You'll get additional notification about that. But I just want to make sure, there's a lot of letters coming your way. All of these are really important initiatives. We need you to read it, pay attention. If you have any questions, there's contact information on that material to get the answers to your questions. No immediate action on the meter replacements, but again, we're just asking you to please participate when asked and make the space in your basement available to our contractor to do the switch out. It takes about 30 minutes if all goes well. So you'll be hearing more and more about that, but again, if you didn't see the letter in your mailbox, take a second look for it or call our office and we'll help you out and walk you through it. Thank you.
Thank you. Borough Attorney's report.
No report, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Now, I have a brief report. As we are celebrating Black History Month, this weekend, the Black Caucus and Middlesex County did a celebration of Black leaders in Middlesex County, and they honored Council Member Schiffman from Edison. Myself and Council Member Kim Chohan was honored, and New Brunswick newly elected first African American elected Council Member Lally. just a little bit of history. I want to talk about the NAACP. On February 12th, 2019, the NAACP will celebrate its 110th anniversary. And that's a huge landmark. And that was put together after the 1908 race riot in Springfield, Illinois. A group of African American leaders and Jewish leaders came together to organize a permanent NAACP. And NAACP, it's interesting because it's National Association of the Advancement of Colored People. I think that needs to be changed. But Black and Jewish leaders came together to form this much-needed organization. And still, the fight continues. We continue to fight for the rights of many people in our communities, not just Black and Jewish people. It's all persons of color that they fight and they advocate for on a daily basis. One of the things that I would like to do as mayor is a community conversation and education. And I've reached out to some of the Jewish groups and the Jewish leaders, and this came out of a long-standing debate that we had over the book at the library. And I've had some of the Jewish leaders reach out to me and say, how can we have a conversation about each other? And I think it's critically important because there's a lot of things, there are a lot of sayings that we all say, and it's inappropriate at times. And the reason why we say them, because it's a long history of us using certain terms for certain groups, people. And I think now we need to be educated on what's inappropriate about those things. And so I'm looking forward to have a Jewish conversation, an Asian conversation, a Black conversation, a Muslim conversation, and conversation with various religious groups. Not just me, but having members of the governing body, education and facilities, and youth, town residents, to come out and to understand and get a better understanding of who we are, what's appropriate and what's inappropriate. And we all make that mistake from time to time in the terms that we use because they've been passed down to us. But we need to be culturally sensitive and aware, and I think that's a great place for us to start. Last Thursday, I attended the Conference of Mayors in Trenton. And my sole purpose to attend this, because there was going to be a captured audience with a lot of mayors in business and industry, is to talk about Stop and Shop. And I met a number of mayors, and they gave me some referrals in business industry, so I'm chasing those referrals now. I've passed on some information today in our admin meeting, and hopefully that we will find someone that is willing to come to town. We'll have to make some concessions, but we hope to have a supermarket soon. Another thing that was discussed at this conference was Main Street. And we talked about how we can use our Main Street much more effectively to bring more resources to our town to address some of the closures that we have in our downtown. And I'm looking forward to having more conversations with Main Street, Somerville, and Main Street Highland Park to create a relationship between the two groups, because Somerville is booming. We want to find out what are some of the things that they're doing. So I'm looking forward to speaking with Rebecca Hirsch at our Main Street and connecting her with Stephanie in Main Street, Somerville. So that's some of the things that I've gleaned from the conference last week. And I want to do some follow-ups. A number of years ago, we started a road diet program on Route 27. We have not forgotten about it. As a matter of fact, today in our meeting, I said, hey, where are we? It's still on our radar. We're still keeping it on focus because we're a walkable town. We want to keep our town walkable, and we want to make sure that everyone is safe. So we're going to continue to follow up with the DOT to make sure that they don't forget about us and what we want to do with our road diet program. Tonight, you're going to hear about a vehicle that's donated from North Brunswick. And thanks to Jim Polos, he was able to get a vehicle for our CERT team. So we're getting a free rescue vehicle that comes with all the bells and whistles. So when we have emergency, they'll have a vehicle that can go out and have all the equipment that they need. Another note that I need all of you that have some time on your hands, we have a lot of openings on our boards and commission. And we're still looking to appoint people to boards and commissions. So if you know anyone who's interested, please go on the website, fill an application out because we do need you. I'm still going through the applications, but I know there's still a lot of openings in many of the spots. And on a fun part, last week I had the opportunity to meet with the Mayor's Teen Advisable Committee. They have a lot of great ideas about what can happen in our downtown, how to network, and how to approach things differently. I'm looking forward to having more conversations with them as they try to help Highland Park business and try to boost Highland Park and promote Highland Park. And that's my report. At this time, we're going to move on to public participation. It is now time for public discussion. Total allotted time is 21 minutes, 3 minutes maximum per speaker. Comments are limited to items on the agenda. If you want to speak on an item that is not listed, please do so in the second session after this meeting. The borough clerk will monitor the time and indicate when 3 minutes has lapsed. She will give a warning of 30 seconds remaining. There's a hard stop at 3 minute mark to make sure that everyone has time to speak. As a reminder, I may interrupt, warn, or terminate a participant's statement if it does not adhere to the 3 minutes provided, or if the statement is disruptive to the orderly conduct of public meetings, is repetitive, or not on the topic of relevance to the borough governing body. Please announce your name, address for the record, and speak into the microphone if you come up to speak.
Hi. Hello? Is this on? Can you hear me?
No.
Okay. My name's Mary Forsberg. I live at 317 Dennison Street. I'm really sorry that we came in late because I'm very interested in the discussion that about the revaluation in Highland Park. We just got our letter 2 days ago, and my taxes went down by $1,000, but the assessment on my house is $150,000 more than my next door neighbor's house that sold in September. And my assessment is $553,000 in the transition zone across from where you have proposed a parking garage. Now, it'd be lovely if I could sell my house for that, but I don't think I can. I was here for the last revaluation in 1990, and there were many, many, many mistakes in it, and I suspect there are probably many mistakes in this one. And the way that you find mistakes is that you publish the information that has come out from the revaluation, and I hope that that information will be available so we can look at basically whose assessments went up and whose went down. I mean, I think it's really curious that the assessment on my house is so much higher than I think I can sell my house for, but my taxes went down by $1,000. So I think there are some real serious problems with this assessment. And I'd like to, I will listen to your, I'm sorry I missed your presentation, I'll listen to your presentation, but I'd like some more information on this.
You want me to say?
Yeah,
Hi, Mary. Nice to finally meet you in person. I know I've heard, as soon as you started talking, I knew your voice from Zoom. So if you want to know in detail what other homes were compared or used for your assessment, you can give them a call and they will go into detail with you with that right now. And I would do that before the numbers are finalized.
When are we going to be finalized?
We have until the end of this month, right, Terry?
We're submitting to the county in, I believe it's February 24th. There's a deadline on the letter, and it's a few days after that. And then there are still time to make adjustments. We will be posting the list, but right now we're still also, there are people who have not let us inspect, so that's something we are very interested in making sure we get as many of those people to come in now as possible. But I would encourage us, Stephanie, you did read the number earlier. It's in the letter that went out,
It's in
the
here,
800-410-5815. They will meet with you to go through exactly how they got that number, because that kind of question is exactly the question we want people to ask, because we want our data to be as accurate as possible. I got my letter and I thought it was spot on. I thought that's exactly what I list my house for. So if you had a different experience, we want you to bring that up. Maybe they missed something. Let's make sure we get it right.
Well, if I could sell my house for that, I'd probably put it on the market.
Right. So very well. So that's a good catch. So you should do it. And do you mind if I answer the question?
Sure, go right ahead.
You asked, well, how can my value go up so much, but my taxes went down? Again, it gets at that large. All of our values were well below market. That's one of the reasons we were ordered. So all the values went up and got redistributed. And so some people, while your value went up, which would be the typical thing to happen, the amount, and that was just an estimate based on the 2022 budget, so that's not what your taxes will be in 2023. I just want to make that point clear, even if you understand it. That can happen, in fact, has happened to several people. We also saw some areas went up more than others, and commercial properties being one of them. So we're still navigating that. People are going to come in. People will appeal if they need to. We hope to be able to satisfy and avoid the appeal process. If you think there's bad information in the mix, please call them and try to get to the bottom of it.
Yes.
My name is Helen Rovner. I live at 115 Highland Avenue, and I'm the president of the Board of Directors for the library. And I'm here to talk about the library growth, which is an ongoing problem.
Helen, could you just step closer to the microphone? Thank you.
Okay, we have constant problems. We have had them for years, as Phil has mentioned, and every month it seems that the borough is putting in more and more money to fix things on a temporary basis. So now we have this additional problem with the HVAC units. One of them has been shut down completely, and they're all old and they all have to be removed. So this is a perfect opportunity. Our consulting architect has advised us that if we can remove and replace all 3 HVAC units and possibly get some grants to do this, then this is the perfect opportunity to put in a whole new roof and get a warranty on it. It's particularly important because we're about to embark on a major construction project on the inside of the library. Mm-hmm. And once we do all these nice renovations, we don't want the roof to leak.
Thank you. Terry, can you put that on your list? Yes. Please state your name and address.
My name is Nancy Cronick, and I live at 136 North 7th Avenue in Highland Park. And I serve with Helen Rovner as a trustee of the Highland Park Public Library and had the good fortune to moderate community conversations in preparation for the library's new strategic plan in the fall. Overwhelmingly, community members indicated their excitement about recent directions the library has taken, but lamented the 8-month closing last year, especially of the children's room, due to the flood from our faulty roof. As you are aware, our esteemed library director resigned last month, and we are now in the midst of recruiting a new one. We hope to attract someone of the caliber of our last director. It's hard, though, to imagine a person with similar credentials willing to take a job that requires an inordinate amount of time dealing with intractable roof problems that began at least 18 years ago. I think you will agree that we don't want to lose great candidates for our next library director due to our infamous roof problems, especially when we're about to begin a long overdue transformative renovation. So let's get the roof replaced and fix this problem once and for all so we can attract the kind of library leader who can focus on the community and not the roof. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nora Krieger. I live at 19 North 6th Avenue, across the street from the back of the library. And I have been involved with the library since 1986. I've been on the board since that date, and I am currently the vice president of the board. The library is one of the central institutions of this town. There are a few of them. Unfortunately, the supermarket was one of them. The farmer's market and when I think about it, the library. Everybody seems to use the library. But the library, water has destroyed a lot of the library and compromised the staff's health and has closed off patrons of all ages from necessary and beloved spaces, such as the children's area, which was closed for about 8 months due to extensive water damage this past year. And because I've been on the library so long, I've seen this over and over and over and over again. And because I live across the street, I've seen the contractors who have come. And I'm not going to comment on each one of them, but we need to have a really competent person. If we can take the HVACs off there, we need to replace the roof with somebody who's really competent doing it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ghislaine Darden, and I live at 126 Benner Street. I'm on the Highland Park Board of Trustees and have been on the board since 2017. Throughout my tenure, the library roof has always leaked. And I know that they began, I'm aware of, in 2013, though it started earlier. In 2015, a new roof was installed, but it was installed incorrectly and cost us $200,000. Since then, the leaks have continued. We have had studies, patch jobs, allocations of money for repairs. We've had different roofers come and go, reports, tests, cameras. Ultimately, the new roof was installed incorrectly and not built to spec. We have had emergency resolutions and a POSHA complaint, but still we have leaks. We need a new roof built correctly as soon as possible. Let's stop wasting Highland Park taxpayer money and solve this problem for good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name is Jill Medinitz, and I live at 242 South 6th Avenue in Highland Park. I basically was listening to Councilman George about the police, and I want to commend them. But then I also heard about the library and the roof. And he made a comment that it was replaced like 18, 20 years ago, but now it's overdue. But as you've been having this problem with leakage and the roof, the air conditioning and the HVACs, basically only 2 years after the roof was fixed. Am I right?
The roof problems are ongoing. There are a number of different causes. This issue came up because the HVAC system, not the roof itself, the HVAC system is beginning to show some problems. But there have been ongoing problems with the roof. It's not necessarily the entire roof, but it will spring a leak here, it will spring a leak there. During some of the major rain incidents that we had, Ida and some of the other storms, it did cause significant damage, but it's ongoing. It could be small, it could be large, but it is ongoing.
I also have a question for the health department. You're concentrating on COVID, but what about flu?
Councilmember Canavera?
They are looking into the flu in the Board of Health, and actually at our meeting tomorrow, we are discussing the flu and flu vaccinations.
Thank you.
And also RSV.
Hi, I'm Shivam, and this is Sham. We're representing Social Dispensary LLC, an applicant for a Class 5 retail license at 223 Raritan Avenue. We really just wanted to come out and introduce ourselves. We're hopeful and eager to hear the decision. We speak to Terry very often, so we know kind of where we stand. But any insight of the decision making or any timeline insight would be appreciated. But if not, the main purpose here was to introduce ourselves, and we're really excited to be a part of the community.
Thank you.
Mary Forsberg again, 317 Dennison Street. I want to come back to the reval. I think that you need to have a meeting to talk about the reval before you finalize these numbers. I mean, you can't send out the letters in the middle of February, or sort of the middle of February, and then finalize the numbers 2 weeks later. I think you really need to have a meeting to talk to people about this, because this basically sets how much tax people are going to pay and where the weight of the taxes in this town are going to be distributed. And I think it's really inappropriate to sort of rush through this, because nobody knows. I only know what one other person's taxes are, assessment is, and what their taxes will be. And I think it's very important for us to know a lot more about the way the numbers have come out. So I think you're rushing to finalize these numbers by the end of February. I think you should give it a month, and I think you need to have an actual meeting where you talk about this, because I don't know, it sounded like there was a second letter that came out. I got one letter from the reval company. I didn't get a letter from the borough. And I think that this is a very serious thing, and you have to get this right. And I know that in 1990, I was here in 1990, there were a lot of mistakes, and those mistakes took at least a month to kind of work out. So I just want to suggest that you're rushing through this thing.
Thank you for your concern, Mary. We'll discuss it further. I know Councilmember Chauhan she's looking into some more informational packets of information that she can share to provide more clarity if it needs, but the most appropriate place, she says, is to really have a conversation with the company to see what was done and what else should be done and what needs to be done. Borough Attorney, I have a question. Can we share people's information?
Yes.
Is that public record? If someone wants to share, if we had a meeting and say, okay, this person at this address received this, can we do that? Is that public information?
Yeah, I think once the numbers are in, they usually do that by neighborhood, and they do share that.
Okay, so if we had an open comment meeting, we could share.
Sure.
Terry, well, just one second.
I just want to, I'm not weighing in on the meeting or not the meeting. Again, it's the most important thing is that the accuracy of the value assigned to your property, and to try to get that number. And I guess I just want to say that again, and that's why if people get the letter, they feel that number doesn't read as their understanding of the market in their neighborhood, we absolutely want to know about it. And so, everybody has to look at their own property, because every property is unique, as was said earlier. So yes, there will be a sharing of the data across all of the, and I think you raised that question early on, and the answer is yes, the roll will come out at the right point. But I just want to reiterate, it's also very important to look critically at your own property and the value, and make sure you're comfortable. And if you're any reason you're not, it's too high, it's too low. I don't think we're going to get a lot of calls about too low. But the truth is that's how we'll get a fair allocation. And I think that's what we all want here. So I just want to make sure we focus on getting everybody's property where it needs to be.
But I mean, I know something about, I was here for the reval. I've also taken all the assessor classes. So I know a little bit about this. It doesn't really matter if my house is assessed at $500,000, if another house, whether it's sold for $500,000, is assessed for that. I mean, it's all relative how much houses are assessed for. It doesn't really matter what my house is assessed for. I'm not making this very clear, but it's all a relative thing. Because if you get my house wrong, and you don't get other people's houses right because they're not challenging them, we've got a problem. I mean, my house used to be $162,000. That was its assessment. It's now $550,000, which is, I don't think is probably accurate. But I don't care if it's accurate as long as everybody else's house went up by the same amount if their value went up by that. So I think it's really important to see what other houses are assessed for. It's not, and I don't think you should finalize this before people actually know what other houses are assessed for.
I thank you, Mary, and that's why it's really important that each individual will call the number based on the information that they receive in the mail. If they have concerns such that you have, they should really reach out and call the company that did the assessment. And if they feel the number is not correct, maybe they can request for a second look at their home. So have another person come out and take a look at it.
But 2 weeks is not enough for anybody that's...
We'll take a look at that and see if there's any wiggle room at all. Yes.
I just wanted to make a comment. I have a family member looking for a house in Highland Park right now, and the cheapest property they can find right now is $420,000. So your house is definitely worth what they assessed it at, but I would look into that.
Hi.
Yes.
Do we still have more time?
One last one? Okay.
All right, I'll be quick. Abby Stern Cardinal. I live on Harper Street. I just wanted to bring up the topic of accessibility of these letters going out and making sure that all of the information that's in the letters is also included online. There's also, I think, an issue of accessibility in a lot of the forms that are online, and the fact that they're all images or PDFs, they're not accessible for our blind community, and we have quite a large blind community. We also have the police department that's posting pictures, and I think having image descriptions would be helpful as standard practice. Thank you.
Thank you. You have time? We're done. Okay. All righty. Now we're going to move on to the consent agenda and resolution. Can I have a motion to adopt or reject the following consent agenda, 14A through 14N?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Canavera? Yes. Councilman George?
Yes.
Councilman Hale?
Yes.
Councilmember Hirsch?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kim Cho-Han?
Yes, in North Brunswick, send us more. And anyone else that would like to.
She's referring to the free vehicle we got from North Brunswick. So, yes, if we
Donations
can
of
get
all
more good
kinds
operable vehicles, yes, we'll take them. Okay. Resolution requires separate reading, which is 15A. Budget transfer. Resolution to amend 2023 municipal budget, temporary budget.
So move.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Canavera? Yes. Councilman George?
Yes.
Councilman Hale?
Yes.
Councilmember Hirsch?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kim Cho-Han?
Yes.
Resolution 14B 2-2351, resolution designated Council Representative Middlesex County CDBG Committee, Stephanie Kim Cho-Han.
So
Move to
moved.
adopt.
Motion?
I think it was Phil and Hale.
Oh, okay. Roll call.
Councilwoman Canavera? Yes. Councilman George?
Yes.
Councilman Hale?
Yes.
Council President Hirsch?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kim Cho-Han?
Abstain.
Resolution 15C-23-52, resolution to appoint Council Representative to Planning Board, Matthew Hale.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Canavera? Yes. Councilman George?
Yes.
Councilman Hale?
Abstain.
Council President Hirsch?
You can vote for yourself, Matt. Yes.
Councilwoman Kim Cho-Han?
Yes.
Resolution 15D-23-53, resolution to establish 2023 Council Standing Committee.
So move.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Canavera? Yes. Councilman George?
Yes.
Councilman Hale?
Yes.
Council President Hirsch?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kim Cho-Han?
Yes.
Now we move to our second public discussion. Each person is allowed 3 minutes. You may comment on any topic. The borough will monitor the time and offer a 30-second warning then indicate 3 minutes has lapsed. The session will wrap up at 9 p.m. By 9 p.m., the borough clerk will monitor the time and indicate when 3 minutes have lapsed. She will give a warning when there is 30 seconds remaining. There will be a hard stop at 3 minutes time mark. Everyone will have time to speak. As a reminder, I may interrupt, warn, or terminate a participant's statement if it does not adhere to the 3 minutes provided, or if the statement is disruptive to the orderly conduct of this public meeting, is repetitive, or not on the topic of relevance to the borough governing body. Please announce your name and address when you come up to speak, and speak into the microphone.
Hi, Abby Stern Cardinal again, Harper Street. I'm asking for a status update on 3 items, which I'll list, but there are 3 distinct items. One is hybrid meetings. Maybe we overlap on that. Pocket Park improvements. I'd like to hear about that. And also the reopening of South 3rd and the town table. So can we get status updates on those items? And specifically whether the application has been submitted for that to the DOT yet. Thank you.
I'm going to ask Councilmember Hale to talk
Yes,
about.
the application has been submitted to the DOT for the opening of South 3rd. So.
Thank you, sir.
And the other one was hybrid meeting. That's something that's I'm continue to work on. It's ongoing. We're looking into it.
And our Pocket Park improvements and having the finances for that in the spring.
Pocket Park improvements.
Yeah.
Yes. Council President.
Thank you, Mayor. No update really since the last time we spoke, but I am liaison to Public Works this year, and so we really look forward to getting those projects underway.
So I would just ask, I know I never quite understand the budgeting timeline, but please make sure to include that in the budget discussions. I know we need funds from outside, from Middlesex County as well, but we really need to prioritize our parks in our town and beautifying them. Thank you.
We are. Thank you, Abby. Yes.
Actually, Abby and I do overlap on the hybrid meeting thing. I think that you're doing a real disservice to this town by not having Zoom meetings. I listened to most of the meetings that this town has, whether I'm there or not, and it's pretty much impossible to hear people when they speak. The planning board meetings, and I'm not criticizing the TV people at all, but it's important for us to see who's speaking. The planning board had a meeting. You could hear, the only person you could hear was the chairperson. You could hear other people talking, but you didn't know who was talking. And at one of the last meetings here, someone came up and had a mask on. I couldn't hear the question. You didn't repeat the question. I had no idea what you all were talking about. So I think that in the interest of transparency, you have to have meetings both in person and on Zoom. And particularly since there's a lot of stuff that's going to be going on. You've got all of your redevelopment stuff that you're talking about, the Stop and Shop. There are many, many, many issues now that a lot of people, there are a lot more people here than most of the time. And there are a lot more people on Zoom. So I think it's a really critical thing. So Abby and I actually agree on that. But my other question is the resolution authorizing the RFP for emergency repairs to the water and sewer system. I've developed an interest in the sewer system and the water system, particularly since I saw how many houses in Highland Park actually have lead in their water. And I looked up all the addresses of them, and there seems to be like a cluster of houses in Highland Park that has lead in the water. So I'm curious about where these repairs are going to happen. And I asked to see a list, see a map of the sewer system in Highland Park, and I was told I wasn't authorized to look at that map. So I'm real interested in what repairs you're going to be making for both of these systems.
Borough Administrator?
The resolution on the agenda was respect to the contract we issue periodically, usually every 2 to 3 years, for emergency repairs, water main breaks, sewer backups. In the past, I guess our current contractor is JF Kramer, so you may have seen their vehicles in town. That's what that's for. That is not work that's included in our operations and maintenance contract with Middlesex Water Company, which is why we maintain that service. We do not have homes with lead exceedances in their water. I want to make that point very clear. There are lead service lines in the house, in town, but there's a difference between having a lead service line and water that has lead in it. I just want to make that point. All of the people with those identified lines have been notified, will be notified annually, and we have a lead service replacement plan that we've established, and we're in the process of looking at. Our big project for this year is identifying the remainder of the unknown service lines, and the state of New Jersey requires the treatment of galvanized as the same as lead. So we are looking for both lead and galvanized service lines, and we will have a plan for replacement over the next 10 years as required. So I just want to make that point.
Thank you so
I don't want
much.
people to be alarmed. The presence of lead a pipe doesn't mean you have an exceedance in your home, but if you have a concern, please call me.
Thanks for that clarification. Yes.
Hey, talking about...
Just your name and address.
Oh, sorry, you're right. Grazina Strolia, 24 Red Cliff Avenue, apartment 2C. Lived in Highland Park for 25 years this year. In speaking with the Historical Commission thing and to what Matt Hirsch said about it, if you look at it just a different perspective, instead of us having an automotive history, just having a history at the forefront of technology, that between 1916 and 1926, it was kind of like we had all the Apple stores and the Tesla dealerships. We were the, and to that end, I just wanted, I would love to save, especially the Sexton building, the Rutgers Gun, Boat and Book Center. And I know it doesn't look like much now, but if you look at the old pictures with the terrible brick face pulled off and, more original windows put back in, it's a gorgeous building. It looks a lot like the Landmark building. And I think it would be a beautiful restaurant. And because we're looking to do, multi-use facilities, it already has a second floor for apartments. It fits that criteria. And I'm not against all development. Please tear down that Stop and Shop, rebuild that whole block. I'm all for that. That could be so much more efficient and beautiful. So there we go.
Thank you, Virginia.
That's good feedback, Regina. Thank you.
Jill Medinitz, 242 South 6th Avenue. I still have a problem with the sidewalks. I have to use them, and they're either broken or unleveled. And I was told by someone that it's not a priority. Well, for me, it has to be a priority because there are certain days of the week, certain holidays, where I cannot drive and I have to walk and use those sidewalks, or I'm walking in the street, which is very dangerous for me to walk in the street and get hit by a car. So how do we solve this? How do we get the sidewalks so that I'm not tripping over them every time I go over a square?
Terry, do we have a sidewalk improvement program that's going to be coming on this year?
That is something that I'm assuming the Public Works Committee will be looking at in the coming year.
Please give Council President Hirsch a little bit of time to address this issue.
If I may, Mayor.
Sure.
We did discuss that at a number of Public Works programs to try and lay out the overview, the vision of how it would work. We did one about 10 years ago, which involved the town actually taking out the bond on the construction work for all properties that signed on to do it, with a 0 interest 5-year payback.
And anybody who's gotten any work done by any contractor knows that no private contractor is going to fund you for 5 years to get your work done. What we did, though, is we saw looked generally at some of the defects in that program, in the rollout of it under prior administration, control, some of the professionals that we were using at the time. It's not that it was wrong, it was just not publicized enough, we think, and it was also too large. The plan that we were putting together is to do it by zone and to stagger it over several years. In other words, do roughly 5 zones is what we have in town, by geographic area, and do one zone 1 year, another zone another year. It keeps it more manageable. We have more control over the contractor, and those plans are still in place. And I'm sure that Public Works, where I still sit with Chairman Hirsch, will be able to revitalize that. In part, like many other things, the pandemic did put that on a back burner.
Okay, you have your task cut out for you, because also there might be residents who want to go ahead and do their sidewalk on their own, so they might want to choose to opt out of a program. Please give Council President Hirsch some time to delve deeper into this. Thank you.
But I'll follow up. We'll follow up as well.
Yes.
Hi again.
Hi.
Abby Stern Cardinal again. So I am asking on behalf of actually Dan Stern Cardinal, who can't be here because the meetings aren't hybrid and he's home with children, although he is watching, but he can't participate. So the question is, assuming we get DOT approval for South 3rd, how quickly can we reopen the pedestrian zone? Are we ready to reopen the town tables immediately, or do we need to do things like a site plan first? And if the latter, is the work already being done? And can we move forward on that?
Councilmember Ham, do you want to chime in?
So I would just say that first things first, the DOT has to say that we can close this, and then the process moving forward from that is to go through a full design of South 3rd and make it a truly special place. In the interim, before that happens, before the design work, before the engineering work, before all of that happens, we do think there's a possibility of opening it again like it was before, in a temporary mode. But again, let's just take it one step at a time, make sure that we've done everything we need to do for DOT's approval, so that it can be opened for pedestrians. So I'm saying that yes, we would like to have the ability to be temporary, but I'd like it also to make sure that we have the ability for it to be permanent.
Thank you.
Hannah Shostak, 146 North 6th Avenue. I realize that this is a longer-term project to look at the sidewalk replacement. But just from my own personal experience, I lost the tree, my street tree, which I really loved. It was 30 years old. And I was told that the reason that the tree failed was because of the roots being cut because of the sidewalk replacement. Mm-hmm. So I would just urge you, Council President, when you're looking at this issue, to look at the cost benefit or whether there's ways of doing this work such that we don't compromise the health of the trees that are pulling up the sidewalk planks. Well, right. I mean, there may be workarounds, but I just want to raise the issue because I assume that my tree wasn't the only tree that perished because of the work done to lower the sidewalk. So, for what it's worth.
No, I appreciate you raising that. And Public Works includes the Shade Tree Advisory Committee, which Councilman George worked on previously. So we look forward to kind of putting a plan together in tandem and making sure that we can save as many trees as possible, as well as plant new ones. Thank you for raising that.
Diana Ray, 68 Donaldson Street, Highland Park. I don't usually have questions or comments, but today I see you're issuing another cab license, and I'm sure that that person is deserving of his license. But when you close off South 3rd, which was where the cab stand was, where do the cabs park? Because cabs tend to idle. They don't turn off their engines when they're waiting for a call, and they're landing on residential streets. So there's no place for them to go. Just just something for you guys to think about.
So we've had discussions with a cab company before about where they've gone. There is a cab designated place on North 4th that we've asked them to move. I'm sorry, South 4th, where there's a cab stand that is over there. So they have moved over there. They also are on the south side of 3rd as well. So it is an ongoing issue. We've talked with the cab company about where they go and how they go. But those are the two places where they are moving. It's also important to remember that part of South 3rd and part of the what we've envisioned is that the wraparound into the parking lot on the other side might be all the way through. And so there's a lot of different options in different areas that we're exploring with the cabinet. But we have talked to the taxi. We're going to talk about a little bit of things with the cab company in our work session tonight. But thank you. It's an ongoing issue, and we hope to solve it in that way.
Thank you, Matt. Is there a limit to the number of cabs who can park on South 4th, say? 6 cabs, 8 cabs? Because they're all leaving their engines on.
I don't know I don't remember exactly how many there are there. My recollection is that there is enough space for the cabs that are normally on duty during high times. That doesn't mean that one of the things about cabs is that there are shifts that they have, and so when you're parking your cab in one place, it may or may not be on a shift, and their own cars may or may not be on a shift. So, but I think that the South 4th has enough spaces for sort of a normal amount of cab traffic.
I'll keep you posted.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Seeing none, we're going to move into our work session. So, no formal action will be taken in our work session, so we can just move in and get going. Do we want to sit down there?
Well, we didn't set it up that way.
Oh, we're going to stay up here?
If that's okay.
Okay.
We would normally have prepped it. I'm
All
sorry.
right, okay.
To ask.
All right, we're just going to stay up here and get into the work session. So the public session is officially closed. So move.
No.
Okay,
No,
public
keep
session
going.
is just
Jump right in.
closed.
Unless you want a break, but I hope you don't.
Does anybody need a 5-minute break?
I think they're taking that.
No.
Yeah? No? Okay. All righty.
I guess we're taking a break.
I think we're taking a break.
It looks like we're taking a break.
I think we're
Oh,
taking,
we're taking
a break.
Okay, 5 minutes break.
I don't know.
Sorry, Elsa, I didn't even think to ask you.
Diane.
No, I'm just doing
We usually do the work session.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, it's part of
So
the,
I don't
part of
mind
the.
just sticking around, but when we go to executive.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if that's.
No, this parlor, and now I'm in love with this Cuban
I don't think Mary might.
Hi.
I'm
Matt Hill. David, how are you? Oh, uh-huh. Right.
Diane. Diane. Tara. Do you have that paper with you?
You know what, I finished it.
Oh.
I got it. I'm sorry that you missed it.
Yeah, my grandson was sick all week.
Yeah, we get it. It's coming soon.
Yeah.
Best I can say is it's coming. We're not saying a date right now. As you know, we got sued. But I'm not giving a date. I'm not saying I'm going to do it as fast as I can. We're ready to go. But exactly what's happen. I hope to have it by our next meeting, but I can't promise it.
And they're bringing
So I hope we're going to be ready to do it by the next meeting. We'll certainly let everybody know before that, but I'm not promising that's going to happen by next meeting. I'm going to do my best to make it happen. I just want to make sure that we have smooth sailing all the way through. So I understand that you got a lot going on and there's a lot of money being spent on all that. We understand that. We want to move forward. We know we're going to move forward. There's a lot of moving parts. So I don't want to promise something I'm not going to do. I'm going to do everything I can to get this ready to go by our next meeting, but I'm not going to promise it until I know for sure.
I did what Stephanie suggested and pulled my card, because when I bought the house, there was an illegal apartment in the basement. And I wanted to make sure they didn't list it as a two-family.
So that's not really true.
They did.
The state and the local municipalities back. You can go to one without the other. You can go to local without the state. Local. So what I'm saying is the state hasn't been clear about that process.
I think I have 4 persons now.
We can, in fact, move forward with a license without
we need to
submit that So I wouldn't necessarily say you should hold up. And I'm also not a lawyer, so I'm not taking my advice. No, there's nothing, there's no, we've done everything we can to ensure that the decisions are based on objective criteria, not meetings or anything like that. I can tell you that we're trying to make the process as objective and as fair to all of the applicants. And so we've had that process.
That's the challenge.
Where that's again, I do think that we're going to be able to know by then. I just don't like promising things unless I can know that I can deliver them.
Because I really want to get it going.
I appreciate
so many things
the interest
I
that you're
want to
taking.
see happen.
Believe me, we want to
Conversation.
get
Because you're sitting on it, you need it because the chairs are horrible. Okay, we're going to go back into our work session. And the first thing we have, it's a taxi cab rate. Councilmember Hale and Terry.
Councilmember Hale, we're talking about taxi cabs.
I'm sorry, I apologize. So earlier this week, as I mentioned, Terry and I had a meeting with the taxi cab company. As you know, they put in a request for some fare increases. What I also learned is that, I guess my understanding is that fares within Highland Park are things that our ordinance has the ability to control. So within the borders of Highland Park, we can say how much it costs to get from point A to point B. We have less ability to say how much it costs to go from Highland Park any place outside of Highland Park, right? That's sort of outside our purview. The taxi cab company has not had an increase in 10 years. Currently, an example is that from one end of Highland Park to the other, it costs $3, which sounds unbelievably cheap to me. But that's that's current. They've asked for increases of that, I think, to $5 and $6. There is a drive from the one place that's more from that, I think, is Cedar Crest, essentially down to Donaldson. That might be $6 or $7. Is I think
beyond the railroad bridge.
Beyond the bridge, right?
It's kind of a different factor.
It's like a different
Yeah.
factor, right?
Yeah.
So the process, and we're not taking any action tonight, but the process is that I'd like to bring those requested rate increases to the Economic Development Committee. We'll have another discussion about that and then bring it back to council to go through that process. We did also have conversations about if it was possible, if there was a way that we could work with the taxi company to subsidize rides to food stores for Stop and Shop. I don't have a way of doing that right now, but I will say that the taxi cab company was very amenable to trying to work out something if we were able to find a way of helping people to be able to take cabs to a supermarket when Stop and Shop closes. The logistics of that might be complicated, but I think it's another idea worth exploring as when Stop and Shop closes, if we can figure out funding, and this could be county or state or wherever, we can continue to look for that to try and help subsidize some, particularly for our low-income residents, to be able to take cabs for shopping. So that's another thing that we'll be exploring as we go. But given that the taxi rates had come up a while ago, we wanted to have a meeting with them to sort of see and understand this a little bit better, or at least I did. We talked about it as a council, I think, in a previous work session. So we had that meeting. I'm reporting that back. It'll go to economic development and then come to the full council, I think, at the next meeting. So how'd I do, Terry?
Yeah, I guess there was a level of urgency in terms of the
There was.
request. So I hope we can expedite that review. I just want to put that in there.
Yeah.
And
Good
we
point.
also, didn't we just recently, are we in the process of hiring a CDL driver that's going to help to alleviate
Right,
some of that?
so we are kind of related to the grocery access points that Matt brought up. We are fortunate that we have a 25-hour-a-week driver that we can also put our own resources, or we have it funded through the Easter Seals program. So that's something that we literally just learned the day we met with the taxi folks. So there's a lot in the mix, but I guess I just wanted to make I got a sense of urgency. I'm sure you share it from that if we could at least acknowledge the rate request sooner than later, I think that would be very appreciated.
I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
Is there any way we can talk to the taxi company about a flat rate to go to a grocery store? Because I understand we have a driver, but a lot of our lower income residents are at work and can only go on weekends or evenings.
We have weekend rides now too. You got to give me a
Okay.
chance to roll out the whole program for the borough offerings. We actually started that kind of on a pilot basis with some of our part-time CDL drivers that we recently recruited. And I say we, but it's really Kim McGraw deserves all the credit for figuring that out. So we are going to hopefully roll out sooner than later the suite of transportation options, both borough, county, state, whatever, that we can offer. But I will say this, that I learned a lot in that taxi meeting. It is flat rates everywhere.
Yeah.
They don't have a tick 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 meter like as in some places, and they really do. A lot of their drivers do a lot of assistance for those folks who have mobility challenges, getting in and out, loading in groceries and so forth. But I will say, for that reason, it's also a challenge because it slows down their ride process, and time is money in that business. So that was some of the nature of the conversation we had.
But yeah, it is, and it is a flat rate to Stop and Shop or ShopRite in up on Route 1 and the other ShopRite over on Route 18.
Okay.
They do have a flat rate for those.
And if you call and ask for, I need a cab to here, they'll tell you it's $9 or whatever it is. Yeah.
That's all I have.
Okay. State funding requests. Electric garbage truck, toters, and community center. I had an opportunity to speak with all three. Our Senator Dykeman that was here earlier, Assemblyman Stanley, Assemblyman Karabanchik, and they said, "What is it that you need?" And I said, "We want everything." So I went back to Terry and I said, "Terry, throw everything together." So what we submitted to them was for electric garbage truck, which is pretty pricey, a toter for recycling, so you wouldn't have to put everything outside in your own. It would be a toter that would be dedicated, like Edison has the green one for green recycle. So we're hoping that we'll get the one-armed bandit would be able to use that, and we would save in a lot of different ways if we got the toters. And then the community center upgrade. Matt can speak a lot to what's needed over there because they also have leakage as well, and they are in need for a lot of upgrades. You want to speak it because that's just your bucket.
Sure. Yeah. So the community center also has perennial issues as well. It's a flat roof. So there are leakage problems, and there are also issues with space as well. The shared space in there between the food pantry and the community center programming, while it's a symbiotic relationship, there are ways to kind of improve the interior there when it comes to the storage. So that is, that's been on our radar for a very long time. Not quite ready to put a second floor on there. Let the community center kind of dictate what their spatial needs are, and they have. Kim McGraw has been very forthcoming when it comes to the needs of the center as a whole. So really looking forward to funding for all of these.
Okay, I think that concludes our work session. Now we're going to move into our executive session, and that's 28-2-23-54, resolution authorizing executive session, JSM versus Highland Park, Botian versus Highland Park. Can I have a motion to accept or reject our executive session?
Motion to accept.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Canavera?
Yes.
Councilman George?
Yes.
Councilman Hale?
Yes.
Council President Hirsch?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kim Cho-Han?
Yes.
Can I have a motion? We did that. Or
Yep.
all in favor? Motion.
To adjourn.
Can I have a motion to adjourn and go into executive session?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes carry. Good night, all. Have a safe rest of the week.